Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books, not the least of which will be covered tonight because, guys, this is a deep dive, as you probably realized when you clicked on the episode. Or at least we hope you're as observant as, Cricket. Anyway. Well, guys, if you haven't guessed, we're not the clearest of mindsets tonight, but we do have all of the multiverses to cover, all the portal guns to tweak. We have a litany of
quotes.
I draw a blank. Okay, quick side note. I'm gonna cut this out.
Plumbuses.
I'm drawing so many
of plumbuses.
God, thank you. I'm drawing so many blanks because I'm trying to pull out of my ass Rick and Morty references in this intro, and I'm failing miserably. Much like Goldfarb's math test in episode 1, where Morty tries to solve all the answers on his test while thinking of Jessica, and if you look at it, every answer is the same. They're all 10. The pluses, the minuses, every question on his test comes out to 10. But, guys, that being said, this...
I mean, the clock's right at least twice... broken clock's right twice a day.
I mean, this is all accurate when we're talking about science fiction, when we're talking about Rick and Morty. Guys, this is going to be officially, finally, it is here. This is our Rick and Morty deep dive episode. In light of the season 4 comeback, it only took them 2 years to finally work their shit out and bring us more of the glorious, animated, ingenious minds of Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon.
Whoa, hey, Joe, I got one for you.
Yeah.
You know what else took 2 years to make?
Yo, Mom!
Yes?
Oh.
This deep dive.
Oh! There's way too much truth behind your statement, sir. That's almost completely unfair to even make a joke of it, but it is the reality.
And again, I almost wasn't here for it again, and I even said Lynn's been waiting for so long to even try to do this that I would feel bad if he didn't get to do it.
Oh, dang.
More true statements from the peanut gallery here. No offense to Matthew, but he was the last one to jump on the bandwagon of this particular fandom.
Quite literally.
I mean,
literally. Well,
what can you do?
Well. To be fair, to give him a little credit, we have chipped away at his lack of a soul for a while now, and finally, whatever is not there has finally resurfaced to some formulation of interest. I'm completely, unabashedly insulting your ginger heritage, Matthew.
It always gets made fun of. So what would it be different tonight?
Not made fun of.
Well, fair enough, but you have an incredible beard to back it up, and so for that, we thank you.
Indeed.
But guys,
hey, I'm not a bug guy.
Not what? Well, the bottom line here, guys, is we're gonna give you guys a bit of background. This is the first time officially, like we've joked about it, we've talked about it for literally the last 2 years. I've promised Lynn. I think most of us are, well...
Sorry.
Minus the Matthew Johnson, I think it's fair to say that me, and then second only to Nick, have also, in the last couple of years, equally joined into the fandom and desire to do this, but we've been less than determined to pull it off as maybe Lynn would wish in this situation. But
We've been
Also,
promising
Jeff-
this since before Jeff left us.
Yeah, also Jeff Berry. You got Jeff some credit. He wanted to do it with me in a
Whoa,
totally
whoa.
non-homo bro kind of way.
yeah, brah. But
I mean, I
we
want
could
to
say
do
this.
you, and that's a homo way.
Oh, well.
It's that soul patch, Lynn. It's that soul patch.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty gnarly this week.
And see, we came full circle back to the gingerness. Because of this all.
So, guys, if you've been with us long enough, you know who we are. But just to get that little bit out of the way, I'm your host, Joe Tweeden. Joining me tonight is the full circle of nerds. We have the nerd crew in full. We have the Matthew Johnson. This is also an audio podcast, sir. I need a little bit of something from you.
My bad.
He gave me the peace sign, guys, in case you were wondering.
My bad. How's it going, people?
Next to him, we have the Lynn Dudgeon.
Hey-o!
And last but not least, we have...
Damn.
we have
Shovel him.
the Nick Thomas.
Bad.
How's it going, Nick?
Well, I was fantastic till...
Is your tank full of
You said
awesome
the
now
truth.
half? Is it now half full?
I don't think I can do this, Joe.
I don't know.
He just got swept underneath the bus, basically.
You need to pull through, Nick. You need to pull through for this one. I'll throw it out there. The
Oh.
world's not going to serve you up as a silver platter.
Okay.
Sorry. I will never try to do a Rick impression for the rest of this episode. At least not while trying to speak non-quotables. But moving on.
Oh, come on, Joe.
So, guys, at the front of this whole thing, well, we're going to give you just a quick little premise for what this show is, if you don't already know. And I would hope, I mean, if you're just a fellow listener of Nerdentials and you're just watching this episode for the sake of watching it because you listen to all our other episodes, that's awesome, great, welcome to the show. It's going to be a nice little kickstart, jumpstart to your future fandom of this show. But
If you are a follower of Nerdentials, you will realize that this is not a normal formula of our show. Normally we do a mixture of different topics throughout the show. A plethora. A cornucopia. But we mix it out. But this episode is purely about the beautiful show of Rick and Morty.
Oh, I thought I signed up for a different show. My bad.
Dude, I keep telling them we want to do Hello Kitty Island Adventure, but he's not listening.
I mean, that ship has sailed, guys. The train has left the station on that one.
Hey,
I
that one's
don't
at
think we can
5
come back.
seasons. There's more to talk about.
Right?
Well,
It's also a
Based-
recurring nightmare.
based on-
Every Halloween episode, top 10 we've done.
okay, well, based on the math alone, Matthew, that is true. But based on the depth, the genius, the memes, the pop culture significance, I feel like it doesn't quite hold that candle.
But a kitty on an island that goes on adventures.
And it's Hello Kitty.
I
Not just
feel
any
like,
kitty.
I feel like a disc-based video game would be would not have the ability to hold a candle.
I mean, to be fair, Nicholas, Rick and Morty do go on adventures.
I'm
Quite a
joking.
few-
I'm
quite
excited
a-
about the Rick and Morty. Let's
Quite a few
dive into
classic
this.
ones. To quote Morty, I just want to go on some classic Rick and Morty adventures, okay? While holding a gun to your face. Okay, move on. Guys, so here's the Rick and Morty deep dive. I think what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys the premise of the show, who created it, a little bit of how it got started, and then I think we'll kind of go through the seasons, just kind of in general speaking. We're not going to break down every deep plot or theory, but we will definitely touch a lot of them. We'll cover a lot of our favorite moments and our favorite characters in those first 3 seasons, and that'll kind of give you guys the makeup of the deep dive for tonight's recording. So thank you for joining us. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, you'll be just joining along through all the laughs and topics that we cover. But like Nick said at the front of this, if you're new to our show, we are doing deep dives of different franchises. We're trying to make it to where I want to do like a once a month where we kind of pick a new franchise to dive into, and there's plenty of things that we'd love to do deep dives on. But we wanted to get this Rick and Morty thing underway because they signed on with Adult Swim for another 70 episodes finally, after a 2-year massive hiatus. So a lot of that's exciting. Season 4 just kicked off a week prior to this recording. So when we get into our usual swing of things, our variety nerd show, you guys can check back, and we'll probably from episode to episode kind of be keeping in tow with season 4. If there's enough to talk about, we might create a short segment diving into each episode as they come out. They have promised us 5 episodes up front, and officially it had been announced last week from Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon, the creators of the show, that there will be 5 additional episodes after the holiday season. So sometime early next year, we'll get 5 more episodes for the full 10-episode season 4. So a lot to look forward to for all you Rick and Morty fans out there. But for you who are new to the show, let's jump into the general synopsis for what the show is about, at least as far as season 1 is concerned. And then we'll move forward. So, Rick and Morty, what it's about. After having been missing for nearly 20 years, Rick Sanchez suddenly arrives at daughter Beth's doorstep to move in with her and her family. Although Beth, his daughter, welcomes Rick into her home, her husband, Jerry, isn't as happy about the family reunion. Jerry is concerned about Rick, a sociopathic scientist using the garage as his personal laboratory. And in that lab, Rick works on a number of sci-fi gadgets, some of which could be considered dangerous. But that's not all Rick does that concerns Jerry. He also goes on adventures across the universe that often, if not exclusively, involve his own grandchild and Jerry's son, Morty. Now, that's basically like the overall premise for how the show kicks off. The show's first episode air dated December 2nd, 2013. It was created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon is the writer and kind of the producer for the whole thing, who early on roped in Justin Roiland, who does the voice work for Rick and Morty. And Justin Roiland had done some creative things in the past. He did a short about the Cosbys, and it was kind of a very risque thing. It was about them cloning the Cosbys or something, and I can't remember what it was called, but basically the production company who was behind the Bill Cosby show sent him a cease and desist order. And when Dan Harmon caught wind of this, he basically was like, Justin's my guy. This is the kind of guy I want to work with, because Justin Roiland was kind of the demographic he was shooting for, the explicit off-the-wall comedy perspective and the age group that he was looking for at the time. So he sought out Justin Roiland. They talked about some ideas, and one of the earliest short projects on a network called Channel 101 had them co-producing a short called The Adventures of Doc and Marty. Now, this was a parody on the, obviously, anyone familiar with sci-fi pop culture, this is a parody from Back to the Future, Doc and Marty, right? It's the same thing, but they spelled his name differently for the cartoon short.
Doc Brown.
It was super awkward, super explicit, and I'll be honest, I watched it for the first time ever prior to this recording. It's only 3 minutes, so if you guys are curious, we'll post a link to it. It's on YouTube, but that eventually kind of molded into the concept for what Rick and Morty ended up being. And a little excerpt in an interview, Dan Harmon was quoted as kind of sharing his experience with Justin Roiland about working on the pilot for this episode. And he basically said, as they were throwing around ideas, he was going to leave for the night, and Dan Harmon was like, "No, dude, if you don't stick around with me and write it tonight, it's going to take us like 3 months to write this episode." Just with like kind of the depth that Dan Harmon was used to kind of wanting to tackle and what they wanted to put into this. And so Justin Roiland stuck around, and he's like, all right, let's do this. And in 6 hours, they wrote the entire pilot for Rick and Morty. And had they not done that, I mean, who knows? Like, the show may not have formulated. I mean, who knows? But like in a one stroke of a single night, in 6 hours, they wrote the pilot. They submitted it to the network, and the rest is history, as they say.
Dun dun dun.
It exactly. It currently airs on Adult Swim, which is a subsidiary of Cartoon Network. Is that true, Lynn? Because I know you can find it on both.
It's Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it's just straight up Cartoon Network. Adult Swim's just the after dark type of
after hour airing of things. Yeah.
This next segment contains adult content and not appropriate for kids.
Well, because in the United States, it's any cable network could actually have anything that has cussing or nudity in it after 10:30, because it's considered to be late night TV.
Right. So, guys, that's kind of the scope of the origins of Rick and Morty. I thought. So, welcome to the deep dive, guys. Matthew, since you're the least experienced, Matthew, with the series as a whole, I think it would be hilarious to have you read the descriptions, and we'll kind of get your raw reaction to those, and then we'll explain our favorite moments. Are you ready to read off the pilot episode? This synopsis for the pilot's really basic, so you can go into a little further since you did watch the pilot, right?
Yeah, but that was many moons ago.
Yeah, it was a few moons ago.
All right, let's go. Get a kid.
All right, so the pilot, a strangely eccentric genius scientist and inventor, moves into the home of his daughter and her family and begins to strongly influence his young grandson. Dun, dun, dun!
So this is our introduction to Rick and Morty.
Throw this out there. There's a bit more to that episode that is neglected in the synopsis.
Obviously.
Here is the parody part of it. Rick and Morty take off, and they go to an alien airport, which is very reminiscent of Men in Black or The Fifth Element. And they try to smuggle some very important seeds, and
That's right.
they may be hallucinogenic or some other form of fuck you up kind of seeds. And Rick says that he can't stuff him up his butt because it's too loosey goosey. Morty's,
I don't know, Rick. I don't like this idea.
Morty's tight, malleable asshole is still intact. So he gets tasked with the chore of becoming the drug mule, and they try to go through the Federation airport,
Which we get established to Rick's very questionable moral compass.
right, and his influence on his grandkids. Well, one of them initially. You don't see how he treats Summer just yet.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely the synopsis for the whole thing.
A better synopsis.
I just read the quote that is on the IMDb.
I know.
That's all right,
Jerry.
That's what we're here for. You're going to be reading them. We're going to be filling in some extra shenanigans.
Well,
Isn't
Jerry Morty's dad?
Yep.
That's right?
Yep.
yes.
On a quick
Spoilers.
side,
Spoilers.
Actually.
Spoilers. Jerry is Morty's dad. Spoilers.
so
All right.
hold on.
My
Let me
bad.
real quick.
Well, it's not.
Hold on.
Spoilers.
Hold on. We can cut this out, but would you guys bear with me for a moment and tell me if this is too much detail if I read the Wikipedia synopsis for the episodes?
Yes.
I want to read
It's
the
too
pilot and
much.
you guys... Well, hold on.
Oh. I like the idea of like me, Nick, or you doing a humorous
Fill in.
synopsis fill-in of
Okay.
what IMDb has to say.
Okay.
The
Because
generic.
if no, I'm not trying to dig on you,
I'm
but
not
I'm
upset.
saying it.
It's fine.
If we read the Wikipedia whatever guy, it's gonna be very dry, and we're gonna be like robots, and we might as well be dogs with head thingies and
Okay, now,
self-aware.
like, I agree with you. Like, if we were doing
Sorry.
an episode by episode recording where we're trying to break down everything in every episode, then this would be perfect. Because
Yes.
there's literally an entire paragraph for each episode, or 2 paragraphs.
This seems a little in depth.
It is.
But I think there's something we need to do for our watchers, our viewers, our listeners, before we carry on past episode 1. We're going to do the nerd breakdown of who the characters are real quick.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, fair enough.
Dun, dun.
We have Rick Sanchez, the patriarch, the
Hey,
grandfather.
can I do, Nick, I'm fine with you freeballing it, but can I do the voice actor listing of these?
Yeah.
Freeball.
Well, that's not what I meant. I just meant like he's describing it from purely from the fictional explanation of who they are, and I thought it might. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't want me to go into this super whatever, we can just freeball the whole damn thing and make it an hour
No,
long
how about
episode.
this? No, you say the name and the voice actor, and then between the rest of us, we'll pick and grab, and we'll give a quick description of who the character is.
All I got are 4 voice actors for the main cast. There's a long list of guest casts, obviously. We can touch that on another time.
We just need the family.
Yeah, so the main
Sanchez family.
main cast consists of Justin Roiland as Rick Sanchez and Morty Smith, the 2 main characters of the show. Rick is an eccentric mad scientist, and Morty is his kind but easily distressed grandson. Chris Parnell as Jerry Smith, Rick's son-in-law and Morty's father, a simple-minded and insecure person who disapproves of Rick's influence over his family. Spencer, what?
Also a funny comedian.
Yes, Chris Parnell's great. Spencer Grammer as Summer Smith, Rick's granddaughter and Morty's sister, a conventional teenager who worries about improving her status among her peers. And then the wonderful
Who
Sarah
ruins the season premiere.
What?
I mean, nothing.
And then the wonderful Sarah Chalk, known as the blonde love interest in Scrubs.
Scrubs.
She plays Beth Smith, Rick's daughter and Morty's mother, a generally level-headed person who is dissatisfied with her marriage. That's the generic quick take.
I'm okay with that.
If you guys
Thank you.
want to add any more to those, I mean, that we'll break these characters down as we cover the episodes.
If we're doing character breakdown and you want to really dive into characters and voice actors, I can get balls deep into that.
Let's do this.
No, we don't
balls deep. I don't
We'll
like
do
getting
it.
balls deep.
We'll do it as we come to episodes.
Yeah, let's go through the episodes. That's the main cast that we care about.
And another premise to also grab onto with Rick is he is a severe alcoholic.
That's apparent right at the very, very opening scene.
And it leads to some shenanigans. All right, let's continue. Episode 2.
Well, are there any, like, we're going to cover moments between each episode, like our favorite part of that episode? Yeah. So, what was everyone's favorite part of the pilot?
In the pilot is the Men in Black section, where they're walking through the airport and you're seeing every different type of species, and then it's like the Federation is bullying one species, and it just really affirmates that for me.
Absolutely.
Do you know how hard it was to say that?
Matthew, you want to say something?
Well, it's funny because I was looking at the trivia for this, and it describes in the airport scene that at the airport scene, silhouettes of the shock rock heavy metal band Guars, Odarius, Orungus, and Beefcake the Mighty can be seen. They come into scene at 15:52.
All of Guar is in the episode.
I'll also throw this out there, dude. Like, there is a 20-30 minute video on every 20-minute episode on YouTube of Easter egg breakdowns, dude. Like, if each episode could have its own deep dive if we were being crazy. So, fun fact, though. Thank you for that, Matthew. But oh, no, nothing. I'm not criticizing. There's a lot of flipping Easter eggs in all these episodes.
As Lynn flips around.
Favorite scene or moment out of this, guys? Anything off the top of your heads? I mean, Lynn pointed out the Men in Black vibe.
My favorite scene from this would be the shootout with the bugs.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, you just blew his head off. He's got a family. What's wrong with you?
Well, while they're on the run from the airport security, Rick tells Morty...
The Federation.
So sorry, Lynn. Rick tells Morty, shoot them. He's like, I can't kill people. And he's like, they're not people, they're robots. And so Morty goes ahead and shoots one, blows off his leg, and the other's like, oh no, tell my wife and kids I'll miss them. And Morty's like, hey, I thought you said they were robots. He's like, they're bureaucrats. They're, what was the quote? Yeah.
They might as well be corporate robots.
Yeah, I don't respect them because they're bureaucrats. I don't respect them, he said. That ties very closely to probably my favorite scene out of the whole episode. Aside from the most quoted gross one is when he first tells Morty that he's trying to confiscate these seeds basically through you're trying to take it out of the state. What is that called? Customs.
Smuggle.
He's trying to smuggle something through customs, and he's like,
prison pocket.
I've been doing this way too long. You need to shove them up your butthole. Way up there. That's one of the most quoted gross scenes out of the whole episode.
Another funny part is when Morty starts to trip off of the seeds.
Are we talking about the end of the episode? Or
yeah.
Oh, and a quick side note, not to go too long, but the pilot was pretty amazing because he gives him these gravity boots to walk down the side of a super deep, super steep cliff. And he tells Morty to put on the boots. Doesn't tell him how to use them. Morty just assumes, oh, they must work. Rick's a genius. So he walks over the edge and literally plummets to the ground and breaks both his legs. And he's like, Morty, you're supposed to turn them on. And he's just in pain, wriggling on the floor. And he's like, I'll be right back. And he runs through his portal gun to go get something to help him. And it's a very classic, like, solid 20, 30 seconds of us just staring at Morty on the floor. Oh, it hurts so bad. I just want to die. Oh, and he's just in pain for what seems like forever. And then he comes back through the portal, injects him with some instant paralysis healing of some kind. He's like, I just jumped over to another universe, found a cure for broken leg paralysis or whatever, and instantly heals his legs. But I just thought that was a really ridiculous moment and also a really amazing depiction of how Rick handles tension. He just brushes it off as nothing. And this is kind of one of Morty's first experiences of something physically traumatic to himself. So there we go. I think that's our 3-4 favorite moments from this episode. There's many more, but we'll move on.
Fudge, yeah.
The next description, Matthew, is super brief, and we'll just fill you in on the freestyle.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I was like, that's just literally one sentence, and it gives no indication. So, lawnmower dog. Rick helps Jerry out with the dog. That's literally what it says. So, I'm utterly confused.
Well, actually, using this pop culture reference just from the name of the episode, Lawnmower Dog, refers back to the old movie Lawnmower Man with Jeffrey Fahey. Yeah. So Rick uses a device and puts the helmet on this dog that teaches him to be sentient and self-aware.
Snubble.
Snuffles. So
hey, that's his slave name.
So at the very beginning of this episode, guys, the main conflict within the immediate family setting is that Summer and Jerry are just annoyed with the dog. Morty's dog constantly pees on the carpet, even when they try to take him outside. So in a just a whatever moment, Jerry's like, Rick, can you make something to make the dog less stupid or whatever, basically. And Rick warns him. He's like, I don't know. I don't like messing with like non-sentient creatures and then giving them more intelligence. Basically, it could be it's a dangerous slope.
Wait, making them self-aware?
Self-aware, yeah. And so he's like, fine, because he wants to take Morty out on another adventure like he usually does, and Jerry's holding him up. So he's like, fine. Runs out to the garage. Makes a little helmet thing, throws it on the dog, and he goes, "Go ahead, try it out." He tells the dog Snuffles to go to the bathroom, or whatever. The dog walks to the bathroom. A few seconds later, you hear the toilet flush, and then you're like, "What?" And so Summer and Jerry are entertained for the meantime that the dog is suddenly super intelligent. Meanwhile, story B, because a lot of these Rick and Morty episodes have a plot, B plot. In B plot,
the dog's also able to talk.
Yeah, well, not yet, not right immediately.
Oh,
but
true.
But it does start happening.
You gotta wait for it back. Yeah.
So the B plot jumps into Morty asking Rick to help him get Mr. Goldfarb to give him an A in math, and he's like, "I'm struggling with math. What can I do?" Kind of a situation. And Rick devises a plan to do an Inception mode. So this whole episode plays on the parody of the movie Inception.
Yep.
They go sneak into Goldfarb's house, plant a little device into his ear. They put a device in their ears. Boom. And the episode goes through layer after layer of them going. First, they go into his dreams, and they suddenly realize he has more control over his dreams, and suddenly Goldfarb is fighting back against Rick and Morty, and so they try to go deeper into the Inception, so they incept this love interest on the airplane of Goldfarb's. They incept into her brain in the dream, so it's a dream within a dream within a dream. This
Whoa.
episode starts going super crazy, and they eventually get to the base, like the deepest layer they can get into, or that they're aware of, and it's Scary Terry, our first introduction to the the Nightmare on Elm Street parody plotline here.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger.
And Scary Terry's wife.
So while they're incepting the dreams and trying to get Goldfarb to give him an A in the real world, they're on the run from Scary Terry. Meanwhile, dear little Snuffles, who's become more self-aware, starts getting upset, and he's like, the humans are not treating me very well. He looks at his helmet in the reflection in the window and realizes there's batteries missing in his helmet. So he goes snooping around, finds some batteries, throws them in. Suddenly he's upgraded his own helmet and he enhances his intelligence. And long story short, the dogs start taking over. Like, I know we got all
Terminator puppies.
Terminator puppies. All the dogs start enslaving the humans while Rick and Morty are on a Inception adventure. So I'll leave it at that because I could explain the whole episode, but then we'll be here all night trying to cover all these episodes. So Lawnmower Dog, Snuffles takes over, and Rick and Morty are doing the Inception thing. I don't think Matt watched this one, so between Nick and Lynn, what were your favorite things out of this episode?
Where are my testicles? Where are my testicles?
Summer, where are my testicles? Where have they gone?
I would have to definitely say that my favorite part revolves around that. So the dog's whole plan to get back at the universe of men is to neuter everybody.
And,
yeah.
And my favorite part is Scary Terry gets a friend.
Mm-hmm.
There's mine. Scary Terry gets a friend.
A favorite brief moment involving Scary Terry is where Scary Terry says the classic trope, you can run but you can't hide. And then Rick and Morty are like, well, who says we can't hide? Why don't we just hide? So they go ahead and hide, and he runs past where they're hiding, can't find them, and then Scary Terry starts getting frustrated about realizing the fact that I guess I can hide. That was funny. But the whole friend thing, like realizing that it's just his job to scare people in dreams, and that he's not really a bad person, and so Rick and Morty befriend him towards the end of that whole synopsis.
And he ends up.
Yeah. Why don't we move on to episode 3, guys? Matthew, I'm curious about your reaction to this episode.
This is a good one.
I'm kind of intrigued about the whole Inception part.
Yeah,
I really like that movie.
It's a funny it's funny. It's good.
Yeah.
Come back.
I might go back to it.
Yeah, come back to it.
So episode 3. This is one I'm probably gonna have to actually just take a look at anyways, because I see what it's supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Anatomy Park, and on the sign that it looks like Jurassic Park, and I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. Rick shrinks Morty, injecting him into a homeless man to save Anatomy Park. Jerry tries to have a Christmas free of electronic devices, but regrets his decision when his parents introduce him to their new friend.
So that one's a little vague, that second half of the story. But what are your thoughts on Anatomy Park on that basic description, Matthew?
So, what that kind of reminds me of is a movie where these people shrink themselves to go inside this person's body to kill bad things in there. and I'm guessing this is like a complete and utter, just like chaotic version of that,
Combined with Jurassic Park.
combined with Jurassic Park, right?
It's a parody of
And a little bit of
Fantastic
Osmosis
Voyage
Jones.
from 1966.
Oh yeah, Osmosis Jones. There's a good callback right there.
Osmosis Jones. That's what I
Yes.
wasn't referring to that one.
yeah,
No, but it has a little bit of a feel of that because
Yeah,
of
that
if
too.
how everything's kind of laid out. Like
I think
cities and
I
stuff.
think the movie that Joe said, I think, is what I was referring to. It's like an old movie.
There's one that kind of reminds me of that, but it's more like it had Martin Short and what's his name, Dennis Quaid. Inside Space. They inject him in a little ship inside Martin Short.
Right? Yeah.
that almost sounds like a retelling of this 1966 film, because it's basically a submarine crew shrunk to microscopic size to venture into the body of an injured scientist to repair damage to his brain.
Yeah, because he loses. What is it? Starts. Basically, he becomes forgetful, and also starts to become mad, like mad scientist type.
But in this one, they definitely embrace the Jurassic Park idea.
Yeah.
And that is the overall theme, I feel.
Which makes me feel like I would like this episode a lot.
Would.
Yeah.
When you realize what Rick is using the homeless guy for by making the park.
And I love...
Wait, what? He's using the homeless guy to make the park?
Well,
yeah,
the park...
For
the park is inside the homeless guy's body.
Right. But, I mean,
the overarching Tyrannosaurus Rex of the park is hepatitis C, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
My favorite...
Which is like a big rancor-like beast.
Yeah, a big giant rancor type monster.
That's awesome.
My favorite... my favorite side note out of that whole adventure is Rick's vehement insistence on Morty checking out Pirates of the Pancreas. It was a pet project of his. He's very fond of it. He said he kept it very authentic. He said it's super rapey. Was his exact words.
Super rapey. Yep.
And dear listeners and fans, that's a reference to a little bit of how the original Pirates of the Caribbean was perceived, with literally pirates chasing around handmaidens in the Disneyland ride. Yep.
With the animatronics.
The animatronics, and they actually have changed it in the last decade.
They still have the drunk pirate chasing after the handmaiden.
Well, but she's carrying like baked goods, and she's running in and out of the house. So I think they get away with that one. There was some more extreme things that were on the ride prior to our time there, but regardless, little B plot though for this is Jerry trying to let the family have a traditional Christmas, telling everyone to get off their devices, and like the big surprise for him is that his mom and dad show up with a new friend. Was that Alejandro or what was his name? Jacob? Was it Jacob? Nothing, guys. We got Leonard Smith.
For what?
And Joyce Smith. Leonard and Joyce have a new friend. Jerry's mom and dad bring home a new friend, and it is their new lover. If we didn't give out spoiler warnings prior to this, everyone should know that.
Jerry's parents are swingers.
Well, and he's been integrated, and she's like, so do you guys all do it together? And she's like, well, no, just him and your mother. I like to sit off to the side and watch. I was like,
oh, that's just wrong.
Yeah, well, they're old and they've spent so much time together. They wanted to explore new venues in life. So Jerry's trying to accept that that's what his parents are doing.
I got you.
And then towards the end of the episode, my favorite moment is them trying to escape the homeless man because it's just gone to shit with the hepatitis C breaking out. Um,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, he can't pull them out with the shrink ray, so instead he decides to supersize the homeless man. So now we have a gigantic naked homeless man floating over the United States. What state was it? Was it Montana that was experiencing some interesting
Oh, the junk.
dips and valleys, things in proportion? Like, what is that in the news broadcasts? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
move.
awesome.
I do have to say in this one. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Morty gets his first kiss in this one from the blonde-haired crew
Morty?
chick. Morty, yeah.
Yes, this
He
is true.
kisses her teacher.
From Jessica?
No, this is another chick that was working alongside the doctor.
The professor,
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha.
Oh, shoot,
My bad.
I don't remember her name, but you got the big, the beefy like Dwayne the Rock Johnson character. There's the blonde-haired girly chick, and then there's another like adventurer guy, kind of white,
Oh, that
nonchalant.
I think that was
remember it.
Alejandro. It was Annie who was working as an assistant to Dr. Xenon Bloom.
Yeah, there you go. Dr. Goldblum.
And
Xenon.
Poncho goes
Xenon.
crazy.
No, I know, but
Oh, sorry.
Gold reference.
Sorry. Or was it
That's
Ruben?
awesome
Was it
reference.
Ruben that
I
went?
mean, spoilers.
I was like, well, all right. You guys ready to move
Anyway,
on?
but favorite moment, Morty gets first kiss right there, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson character. There we go.
Well, and
So,
this is the first time you see Morty really stand up for himself physically. When he jumps and fights the rock dude.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
grabs some weapons and actually goes at it. Yeah. Next episode, episode 4, Matthew.
All right, so we've got M. Night Shame Aliens.
Schmalians.
Shemalians.
Come on,
Shemalians.
What a twist!
It's a twist.
This is also a very vague description. Rick and Morty try to get to the bottom of a mystery. Hey!
Oh my goodness.
I'm just like,
That's
that
all that
gives
they give you.
no kind of plot.
That's all that they give you.
Yeah, that's literally what it just says. It says Rick and Morty try to get to the bottom of a mystery.
Heaven forbid anybody try to jump in on this show just based on.
I mean, guys, I'm going to throw this out there. Go to Wikipedia and look up the synopses. They don't give everything away. They stay vague, but there's way more context. I mean, basically, Rick and Jerry are held captive in a virtual reality by aliens. And they're attempting to steal Rick's recipe for concentrated dark matter. And while Rick attempts to escape, he discovers that he's being held through multiple layers of virtual reality. Jerry, on the other hand, during this episode, despite numerous glitches that are very obvious, remains completely oblivious, and he keeps trying.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to sell his advertising slogan for apples. Meanwhile, I mean that is the premise. Morty is with Rick on this. Favorite moments, guys.
When they think when the aliens think that they got Rick got the formula from Rick, but Rick was really just tricking them into thinking that they kind of an inception moment of the simulation with the simulation and all the glitches of the simulation. That was the moment.
Well, I also like the overall theme about the culture of these aliens, where they are deeply disturbed by nudity, and so Rick tells Morty, like, he runs into a shower, into a school shower, and starts getting naked and tells Morty to start taking his clothes off. And it's one of those awkward grandpa grandson moments where you're like, what is Rick doing?
Yeah.
And then Rick explains very quickly that he's like, the aliens won't watch us if we're naked. This will allow us to talk and get escape from this place because they won't look at us while we're naked. And then the commentary from the aliens at the monitors while they're on, like, the bridge of their ship, they're like, he's naked against her. Tell me when they're not naked. He's like, but I have to look to tell you that. He's like, I know. Saves me the trouble. Like, the leader captain doesn't want to look, but he's telling his compatriots, you need to look and tell me when they're not naked anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole Rickception towards the end, basically Rick proving episode after episode that he is the Rickiest Rick and the smartest scientist in the galaxy by decepting the Deceptors.
And it was Prince Nebulon
Yeah.
with the large pink head.
Yeah. Yep.
I love the recipe he gives them too.
Yeah, what was it for? I forgot. I just recently watched it too.
They were trying to get the recipe for
Dark Matter, yeah.
Dark Matter, yeah.
Oh, well, I know. I just meant you said it was funny, and I forget what was the funny moment about it.
Recipe for dark matter.
Creating dark matter.
Right.
Right, and they concentrated dark matter specifically, and they wanted the recipe for that because Rick knows how to make it. And he gave them a recipe that basically blew their dang ship up at the end of the episode.
That stuff's no joke. Anyways.
Oh wait, didn't they simulate blowing up?
Yeah, they did simulate blowing up.
Because
that's why it was kind of a trip, because he thought that he had them and then they didn't, and then Rick ended up mind fucking them.
Well, and then Morty realized, because they realized Jerry was on there towards the end there, and they're like,
yeah,
did my dad just die? Kind of a thing. All right, Matthew, I think if you guys are ready, let's move on to this next one, which you have actually watched, Matthew.
Yes.
A good one. Oh gosh, guys.
So episode 5. This is actually one that I did watch.
Can do.
Called Me Seeks and Destroy. Rick provides the family with a solution to their problems, freeing him up to go on an adventure led by Morty. And Lynn wants to say something.
Go for it.
No, I don't want to say anything. I just want to present my personal Me Seeks box.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Just wait. When you take the lid off, there's a Me Seeks inside.
That's cool.
But yeah.
But just make sure that it's simple.
It's simple.
So
not like Jerry's two-stroke that he wants off of his handicap.
Off of his handicap. Oh man. Everybody else's was, super simple for the Me-Seeks to complete. But Jerry is just so bad.
Well, and to be fair though, like, his request wasn't so hard. It's the fact that it's Jerry.
It's the fact that he doesn't want to actually listen, and he gets freaking frustrated when he tries to do something.
I mean, yeah.
He doesn't like being told.
Beth simply wants to be respected or told that she's a great woman or a better woman. Summer just wants to be more popular. And then just randomly, Jerry's like, take 2 strokes off my game. Can do!
Can do.
And then
You gotta straighten out your shoulders. Look down at the ball. Which one is it?
Bend the knee. Which is
all of them.
Well, sort of both of them.
Hold on. Beep. We need to take 2 strokes off of Jerry's thing. Can do.
Have you tried bending the knee? Yeah.
He just won't listen.
Towards the end of the I guess that's kind of the B plot, because the A plot is Rick and Morty going on Morty's unique first adventure, being led.
Yes.
And
I just find it funny that it's like a freaking like one of those.
It's a fairy tale adventure. It's kind of a Jack and the Beanstalk theme.
Oh gosh. Jelly bean.
Oh my goodness. So so Morty accidentally assists Rick in accidentally killing a giant, and then they get taken to court. That whole thing is pretty hilarious. Then Rick is like ready to throw in the towel, Morty, and Morty's like, no, my adventure's not done. He's like really determined to have this adventure. So they go to a little shady bar on the giant, massive stairways back down from the giant's clouds back down to, the surface. And they stop into a bar with a bunch of weird amorphous single-celled organisms of sorts. Morty finds himself in the bathroom, being complimented and encouraged by a gray, ugly-looking jelly bean. Next thing you know, he gets a little aggressive with Morty, wants a little more than what Morty expects, and
take advantage of Morty.
Take advantage, yeah. And then Morty literally smashes the crap out of him, like leaves him for dead, bruised and injured in the bathroom, and then they get out of there.
And he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it, Rick.
This adventure's over. We gotta go home.
But what were a couple favorite moments, guys, from the whole episode with the Meeseeks and the Jack and the Beanstalk plot?
The onion to the stew pot from the refrigerator. That was a pretty good one. when the Meeseeks with the scruff.
Yeah.
It's like holding people at gunpoint or knife point or whatever in the restaurant.
That's
right. That's right.
Yeah, where Beth gives him some final... The encouragement that Beth gives Jerry is one statement. I love you. And that was enough. His own wife tells him he loves him. Okay, I can do this. And so she gives him a pipe ripped off of a shelf, and he goes and strokes an onion into a barrel like a golf club. And suddenly all the Meeseeks are like, yay, and they all disappear. And then there's one Meeseeks left, and he's like, I'm a stickler. How's your short game?
Yep.
And so Jerry just takes another little vegetable and taps that into a little bowl. Or no, but right after Meeseeks says, how's your short game? The woman whose knife to her throat is being held says, yeah, how's your short game? Not having any idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like she's being threatened at knife point. The whole Meeseeks conclusion was one of my favorites.
The other one was the shoebox at the end, where it was the ignorance is bliss moment, where, just sometimes it's better not to reveal the whole story because there's some f***ed up shit at hand.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Mr. Jellybean turns out to be the king of the land. And then Rick, right before they leave, basically blows his brains out. And so everyone's all sad and mourning the king, and they erect a statue in his name. And a couple peasants find some shady photos in a box.
Yep.
And what did he say? That was actually a post-credit scene. Because on a side note, to anyone not familiar with Rick and Morty, almost every episode has a post-credit end scene.
Yeah.
And he is basically like the knowledge of Captain Jellybean is worse than the memory, or his memory. Like, his memory is for the people is more inspiring than the knowledge of what he was.
Yeah. It was pretty much just an ignorance is bliss, and we'll leave it at that. You guys have your statue. Let's move on.
Matthew. Rick Potion number 9. Hit it.
Oh.
God. Yes. Rick Potion number 9. Get it, kid.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell asleep for like half of this one, so I had to go back and rewatch it.
You have to rewatch it, because for me, when Lynn said at the top of the episode, what was your mind blown moment, or you're like, yeah, basically, what was?
I think this is my favorite dimension.
I would say that there's a moment in this episode that takes the cake for my literal personal reaction of being like, essentially mind blown for the first time ever in this show. And we'll get to it in a moment. So why don't you give us the rundown for this episode, Matthew?
So, Rick Potion number 9. After Rick gives Morty a love potion for prom, things quickly spiral out of control when the serum splices with the flu, causing it to spread. Rick and Morty scramble to cure the crisis, making matters worse in the process.
That's one of the most apt descriptions.
Longest synopsis ever.
But it also was the most direct. Like, it gave you the overall scope of this episode. And we could just go from there, guys.
Yeah, all I remember is like the beginning of it.
Let's say, for all those aspiring scientists out there, praying mantis DNA and the flu don't f***ing mix. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's funny is that, like, Morty's like, "Can you make a love potion?" And he's like, "Well, it's pretty much science, Morty. But as long as it doesn't get like any." This is after like Morty leaves. As long as there's no flu.
As long as nobody's sick.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh.
And then when he kind of in that moment realizes Morty left, and he's just like, well, no, but it's actually after the fact when he talks to Summer, and Summer's like, "I'm not going to prom. Everyone's sick." And then Morty's like, "Ah, shit."
Rick. And he's like, "I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass."
Yeah.
Any favorite moments that stick out, guys?
A lot. There's a lot.
I mean, I don't want to. I'll wait because mine's at the end.
Let's say when the love potion hits what's her face, Jessica. That's her name, isn't it?
Oh my god! Oh, Jessica!
When it hits her hard, that was pretty great because Morty didn't know what to do.
She became sexually feral.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say. Other than the pupils dilating, that whole take me now moment, I think she might have said.
Yeah.
This is the movie this is the episode that's the first instance of them abandoning home dimension.
I think this is the first. Well, hold that kind of leads into my mind blown moment, but you can still.
I'm not going to say what happened to get to that, but no, the whole idea of them like, okay, this one's done. Let's go somewhere else.
What? Yeah,
this was the first dimension where shit got completely Cronenberged.
yeah, and so screwed up that they just abandoned it.
Yeah, this was the original dimension for this Morty.
C-31.
Yes,
C-137.
Oh, the newbie here gets it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, he hasn't been drinking enough.
Clearly.
No, actually, I memorize numbers pretty clearly.
Here's my invisible shot.
I think my favorite Rick is
every time
C-237, 267.
Matt corrects us, Tink.
Every time Matt.
That can get really messy at the end.
Give me 1 second.
Record. Click. Boom. Well, guys, due to unforeseen circumstances, we have had to let Matthew depart from us. So we'll wrap up season 1 of Rick and Morty, and then we'll reconvene shortly thereafter. Good old shout out from Matthew. I have spoken. That's a Mandalorian shout out for anyone wondering.
Spoilers!
I mean, what did you glean from that statement? What was spoiled?
I didn't know it was for Mandalorian.
Well, shit. Doesn't ruin any of the episode, plot, or context.
Oh, well. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. I mean, we went through Rick Potion number 9, and I mean, we kind of covered a lot of it, the gist of it. Okay, can I say this, though? The part I didn't get to cover, and we'll have to talk to Matthew at a later time off air. But, Lynn, you had asked at the top of the show, what was your, list off our number 1, mind-blown moments? Like to take this time.
Kind of the all of us.
Right. Well, I just meant that since we're going episode by episode.
Mind blown episodes of this season.
Yeah, of this season. And for me, my favorite comes up right here at the end of this episode. And maybe you guys will agree it's on your top list somewhere in there. But for me...
Are you talking about the backyard scene?
I mean, everything leading to that backyard scene, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
So, question. We've spoiled a lot of things. Are you okay, or should we cut back on spoilers? Or it's a deep dive. Do you care?
Me? Or Nick?
Both. Specifically you, Lynn, because... You seemed like you were wanting to brush over the moment, but I was going to explain it briefly.
There's been 2 years. If they haven't watched the show, that's their own damn fault.
Amen, brother. So moving on to my explanation.
Like the Star Wars thing with me. Oh, well. I don't really hold it against you guys. That was my own damn fault.
At this point, we thank you for your grace, Lynn. But...
So let's go on. Anyway, your mind-blowing scene from this episode, what was it?
I'm sure there's a couple other moments in the season as a whole, but for me, this hits my number 1 favorite mind-blown moment for me. Or at least the first one I experienced was the end of the episode after they've Cronenberged the shit out of the world they exist in, and... Rick, in one of his very few moments where he kind of admits defeat over his genius, and basically admitting...
You mean what? It was him and Morty in the ship on the top of the building, and he goes, I really f***ed this one up, didn't I, Morty?
So
Cronenberg shit out of the city. It's August Cronenberg.
So he screwed it up initially, and then he tried to administer another cure, which only screwed it up further. Essentially,
Yep.
Cronenberging everything. And for you mild nerds out there, Cronenberg is basically a lot of body dysmorphia, a lot of body horror. Basically, everyone's been mutated into various blobs and disconnected, confabulated imagery, and Rick keeps telling Morty, "It's all right. I got a backup plan. I try to save this for only worst case scenarios. We've only got a couple. We only got a few more uses out of this backup plan going forward, but I'm gonna do it." So they hit the portal gun and with their ship and go and basically leave this universe behind, because Rick and Morty over the seasons touch on a lot of multiverse aspects. Rick's been in and out of different universes before. So we cut to a scene where they're flying back down to the garage, and Morty's all like, "Oh man, I really thought we'd screwed things up there. I'm glad we were able to fix it, Rick. I'm glad you solved it." Rick's all proud, and he's like, "Yep, that's me. Always figuring things out." And he goes back to working on the device he started working on at the beginning of the episode, and he asks Morty to grab him a screwdriver, and then he starts applying the screwdriver to the device, saying, "1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn." And in that moment, I kind of thought, as I was watching it for the first time ever, I'm like, something's going to happen. I just knew something was going to happen, but I didn't expect what unfolded. Suddenly, the device explodes, jettisoning the corpses of Rick and Morty across the room into a pile of bloody mess. They're basically dead. And then not more than a second later, a portal gun opens, and the Rick and Morty we've been following the entire episode step through the portal, and Morty is suddenly mortified to see dead versions of themselves on the floor, and he just starts freaking out. And Rick is trying to talk sense into him, shaking him, and then finally he slaps Morty in the face, tells him it's all right. It basically says, "I basically just found a universe where we were going to die anyway that was the closest resemblance to our current universe, so we can take our dead version selves over. We can take the place of our dead selves." And as he explained that, dude, my nerdy mind went into the science fiction, the time traveling, multiverse aspect of the whole thing, and I was just like, what the what? And then he proceeds to tell Morty, "Yeah, I'll grab mine. You grab yours. That seems fair, because it's body weight and all that. Like, you grab your dead body, I'll grab mine." And then as that happens, suddenly we go into this sombering music overlay of just almost a feeling of loss in the music. And Morty just goes into the backyard with Rick, and they proceed to dig graves for their dead selves. And the whole time, Morty just looks messed up. Like, this whole thing at the end, he's just messed up for life at this point. And then they sit back on the couch with Summer at the end, and she basically is like, "What's your problem?" And Morty just is still dead-eyed, like, "What just happened?" That was my, I'm going to say it, Lynn, just for you, that was my mind of the whole season.
Actually, one of my favorite parts of that whole episode was the fact after the credits, you get a Cronenberg, Morty and Rick coming into the newly formed Cronenberg world.
Yes.
And they're escaping the original Cronenberg world that they were from, that Rick messed up so badly and turned everyone regular.
It was complete opposite, yeah. like, oh yeah, oh man, okay, that episode was wonderful. Well, Nick,
And then, of course, it shows you what's happening with the family that Rick and Morty completely abandoned there in the Cronenberg world. They were completely normal, fighting off the Cronenbergs to try to survive.
right, so Summer is the three of them, Summer, Beth, and Jerry, are sitting in the middle of the fire and brimstone of the city. Beth and Jerry are sitting on a couch. Jerry, all manly and beefed out now, has his arm around Beth, basically because he showed how manly he was by taking out a bunch of these monsters. And then, meanwhile, Summer is sitting inside of a cardboard cutout shell of a TV, acting out a scene from Jaws, where she's quoting, "I've seen these things. They got dead eyes." I forget the exact quote, but talking about dead eyes, basically a quote from the movie Jaws from 1980, that 1980s Steven Spielberg film. And then Jerry was asking if she was all right, that Rick and Morty are gone, and she's like, yeah, it feels weird or feels wrong, but for some reason, now that they're gone, everything seems okay now. While there's a completely destroyed city all around them. Some of the end credits, guys, you can Google search Rick and Morty end credit scenes, and there are complete montages of all the end credit scenes on YouTube, and it's fun to rewatch them. Nick, I'm going to have you read off and lead the next episode. Raising Gazorp.
Raising Gazorp is the 7th episode in the first season. After Morty becomes the father of an alien child with a sex robot, Rick and Summer visit the robot's planet, where the little alien grows into an adult within days.
Yeah, so the A plot, Rick and Morty go to like this off-world shop, and for some reason Rick buys him a sex robot. Morty gets down with that robot, impregnates said robot. Out comes an alien baby, and again, like you said, grows up within days. And so Morty gets the quick, fast, hard life lesson of parenting, with Jerry and Beth offering little help to him, but kind of like, well, now you get to experience what we went through, kind of parenting back to Morty. Meanwhile, Rick and Summer go on what I think is one of their first solo adventures without Morty. While Morty's dealing with a kid at home, Rick goes to the home world of where Gazorp comes from, and it is a planet purely led by a mass population of females. I know. Where the males, the red alien that Morty birthed, are actually enslaved and killed, for the most part, on this planet. Rick Sanchez goes through a lot of motions of saying his sexist, joking comments and quickly gets shut down when Summer realizes that she can be an empowered woman among these alien females. And so they go through the motions of that adventure, and that's kind of the gist of the whole thing. Leading up to the end where Morty Jr., as Morty has named his alien son, basically keeps him sheltered the whole time. He doesn't want, because Morty Jr. is kind of violent in nature, the alien race he was from, and Morty wants to keep him indoors and tells him that the world is filled with poisonous gas, and then Morty Jr. realizes that the air is not poisonous and basically rebels against Morty as a typical teenager. So, Wild Fun Adventures, favorite moments, guys. What do we got?
My favorite part of this is the first episode where you get a fourth wall break from Rick Sanchez. There's a moment and something happens. Rick falls, and he looks at the screen. He's like, "This is a time when I could use something in reverse of wabba-dub-dub, right? If you know what I mean."
Looking to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
I do have to throw this out there. This episode, the theme felt very much like the Sean Connery movie Zardoz. Don't know if you ever
Hey,
saw that,
yeah.
yeah, I remember the
where
reference.
Sean Connery is in some very risque red leather and has a revolver, and there's a giant floating head going around.
For our YouTube viewers, I'll try my hardest to find the clip for that and post it up on screen right now.
Very,
Yeah.
very worth the watch, if not worth the Google. I gotta
Definitely.
throw that out. But this episode definitely had that feel to it.
I will 100% second that notion for Google searching the image at least, because it's a sight to behold. Our dear Sean Connery.
Also, Sean Connery had some wicked long hair in that one. He had a braided, like, ponytail that went down his back all the way to his ass cheeks.
It was a manly youthful Sean Connery, to be sure.
Yeah,
Somebody say hot shingles.
he had a hand cannon the entire time
I'll say
with the
yeah. I'll say one of my favorite scenes comes in at the end as an end credit scene where Morty Jr. goes on a talk show to talk about a book he wrote called My Horrible Father, which has become very successful. And he's basically being interviewed, kind of like a 90 minutes section. And talks kind of almost like his demeanor reminded me of sorry guys about the blank. Who's the guy that did the Beast in the old X-Men movies? Kramer from the show Kramer.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about
I hate drawing blanks.
goodness. Yeah, I'm drawing.
God
There was
dang it. No.
Give me a second.
My goodness. What was the show I just referenced?
Frasier.
Frasier. Good lord, my god. Kelsey Grammer. I didn't even look it up. It just came to me. He had kind of the demeanor of Kelsey Grammer from Frasier and how he was talking.
Oh, Morty Jr.
Morty Jr., yep.
I will give that to you. You did definitely have that.
Thank you, sir.
We're into episode 8 now.
Yeah, we can move on. You want to read that one, Lynn?
Let's
This
see.
is the episode.
Rick minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Rick rigs the cable box to allow television from multiple realities. One of my favorite moments is in this episode right here.
Interdimensional cable.
Yes.
I love this because on a side note, aside from the premise of the overall show,
Whoa.
what?
Nothing.
Oh.
This whole episode can be really quick, really fast, like straight to my dome.
It can be. The only thing I'll say about this, minus all the wonderful moments from each of the short clips, because it's basically a montage of all the different TV shows that you could experience across the universe. And a lot of the dialogue was in the voiceover recording room with Justin Roiland literally doing a lot of different voices, and the whole episode is completely ad-libbed. There's virtually no script as for any of the interdimensional TV shows. It's just Justin Roiland being drunk and imitating various different scenarios, and the animators literally took his ad-libs and created concepts of shows based on his ad-libs.
My one of my favorite moments is towards the end of this episode. And correct me if I'm wrong. This is the one where Jerry has to give up his penis to the senator or whatever to save his life or something like that.
Yeah, some
sitting
alien ambassador is gonna die.
Yeah, and they're sitting in the waiting room. Well, Rick and Morty, Summer and Beth are sitting in the waiting room of the hospital, and the B plot line is they're watching the TV in the waiting room while Jerry's going. Actually. Is it a different one?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That's the other interdimensional cable episode.
Yeah, there was a part 2 that happened later.
Oh, okay. Getting a little too excited, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But this one does have a messed up moment that shines.
Are you going to talk about Rick's goggles that Beth and Jerry put on that Rick offered them?
That's also funny.
That's one of the B plots, is that Jerry and Beth experience virtual reality experiences of their lives had they never met. And Beth is wildly successful and with another sexy man, and Jerry just lives through an experience of more sadness than he already has in his life. And then Jerry, Beth, and Summer have a heated discussion in which they conclude that the family life is holding them back, and Beth admits that Summer was an unwanted pregnancy during this whole debacle of family drama.
I jumped a little far ahead in the plot line. Damn.
But to be fair, both of them are very similar in initial premise. But yeah, they do expand a lot more on the part 2 that I think came in season 2.
Yeah.
But my favorite one of my favorite post credit scenes, my dude, is the family goes on a vacation into an alternate reality where hamsters live in human rectums that they saw on the interdimensional TV. And it's literally them taking all these selfies and family shots with humans bent over with their butts exposed and hamsters sticking out of their butts. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You want to move on? We'll move through the tail end of the season here with episode 9.
One of my favorite parts of this episode actually was one of the commercials comes across.
Oh,
Strawberry Sniggles. Very reminiscent of Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
And the bunny flavor, the bunny guy that has the leprechaun outfit.
It's a cross between the rabbit Trix rabbit and Lucky Charms leprechaun.
Yeah, but he's saying he's going to have all the strawberry Sniggles, and no one's ever going to have them because they're all going to be in his stomach.
No, and then right in my belly, right where they belong.
Yeah, and then the scene ends with children attacking him and disemboweling him and eating his guts.
All the while he's screaming in agony.
Mm-hmm.
That was messed up.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The next episode.
Something ricked this way comes.
Yep.
Do you want to read that one, Lynn? You got this one, or you want me?
No, you can read the synopsis. I know this one.
I know this one pretty well too. I'll read the short version here. Summer gets a job at a pawn shop owned by the devil. Meanwhile, Jerry helps Morty with his science fair project. That's the B plot. So, kind of throughout the whole episode, Rick is kind of frustrated with the attitude and demeanor of the devil and basically tries to outwit him by posting up a competitive shop across the street from the devil. Do you guys remember what he was selling over there? I can't remember. He was basically disproving...
It was you would bring the items from the devil's shop and he would eliminate the negative effects of the devil's items.
The curses.
And you would only keep the positive effects of each item. And Rick's store, if we're being honest, Rick's store technically looked like the inside of an Apple store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the devil's shop looked like something out of an antique shop.
Oh, and then the B plot gets a little more extensive when we dive into that for a minute, where
Pluto's a real planet.
Jerry insists that Pluto is a planet, and Morty, having his grandfather Rick as the scientist, is like, it's not anymore. And so they travel to Pluto, or they get abducted by Plutonians because Jerry is mistaken for a scientist. His statements about Pluto being a planet make him instantly popular, and then it's later revealed to him that Pluto is shrinking due to corporate plutonium mining. He tells Pluto citizens the truth on a public speech, causing him to be hated and deported back to Earth with Morty.
That's not political at all.
Oh no. Oh darn. A planet that's not a planet anymore.
Yeah.
Due to mining. Oh no.
Oh, and then I don't remember if this happened during the actual episode, but the end credit scene for this one is Rick and Summer. Oh gosh,
Summer and Rick.
And Summer are roided out. They're roided out, and they run from scene to scene, beating the shit out of horrible people, where they beat a neo-Nazi, a bully, a member of the Westboro Baptist Church who's holding an anti-gay sign, and an abusive dog owner.
Yep.
Round out the scene. Those are all hilarious. Guys, we're on the last two for the whole season. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about the last one? Or should we move on?
No, we can move on. I mean, unless... Do you have a favorite moment out of this episode, Nick?
This is where we get introduced to the butter robot.
Oh my god, a brief one-off scene where they're all sitting at the table, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's this little robot that's meant for nothing other than to give them butter. And he sheepishly asks Rick what's his purpose. What's his purpose in life? And he's like, something to the effect of, you're literally just here to give us butter, or to give me butter.
To pass the butter.
And then he all feels defeated and like, did he get suicidal? I don't remember, but it seems relevant.
Yeah.
Episode...
I just thought it funny to bring up.
Oh no, dude, I love those little side scenes. There's so many in this whole show that it's worth mentioning when you remember them, because they're little gems in these episodes. It just continues showcasing Rick's superiority god complex when he's applies science to just the littlest things in life.
Mm-hmm.
Close Rick counters of the Rick Mind, episode 10. Rick, falsely blamed for murder by the Council of Ricks, begins a cross-dimensional pursuit with the authorities while attempting to prove his innocence. And this here, we get a massive taste of the core of interdimensional activity when it comes to Rick. And there are a bunch of hierarchy type Ricks from several different universes that make up basically...
This is the first time you actually get to see the council.
The Trans-Dimensional Council of Ricks.
Yep.
Which comprised 27 Ricks from alternate dimensions.
One of my favorite side plots of these mini Ricks is the doofus Rick, who actually befriends Jerry.
And this is also the episode where they introduce the Morty, that is the evil arch nemesis Morty. with the eye patch.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he rips it off and stomps it out so that way he blends in with all the other Mortys.
Yeah. They've. It says here the real culprits of this whole murder thing turn out to be Evil Rick and his Morty. They have been using Morty's low intelligence brainwaves as a way to conceal themselves, and we see this where our Rick and Morty fly towards this facility that's surrounded by a shield of Mortys that are being tortured, and basically dampening the will of these Mortys is causing a barrier shield for the intelligence of the evil Rick and Morty. Yeah, they capture the original Rick and Morty, but the original Morty leads a rebellion of alternate Mortys and releases the original Rick. Yeah, Rick informs the council about the real killer, clearing his own name. Rick and Morty depart. Council discovers that evil Rick was actually under control by an unknown puppet master, which was evil Morty all along.
Dun, dun, dun.
And evil Morty escapes by blending into the crowd of orphaned Mortys.
Mm-hmm.
By ripping off his eye patch and then hiding the wires into his right eye.
Any particular favorite moments in this one, guys?
The attorney Rick in this, as part of the trial, he is very. They have like a Rick to represent almost every famous person in real life in the council.
Yeah.
If you look hard enough, there's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger Rick. There's like a Macho Man Rick. There's a pompadour like 50s, 60s Rick. It introduces you to the multiverse expanded. There's not just one type of Rick. There's dumb Ricks too.
Right.
It's okay.
Doofus Rick.
Yep.
So, our last episode of this season went one episode longer than their eventual format of 10 episodes. We got an 11th episode, and it starts, it's called Rixie Business.
Damn straight it is.
The short end of the stick on the description here is Beth and Jerry head for an iceberg of a date, leaving Rick in charge. Morty doesn't get to go on any more adventures if the house isn't in the same condition when they get back. And basically, Jerry and Beth go on a Titanic reenactment. The Titanic fails to sink in this reenactment. Jerry finds himself stuck with a lady janitor who wants to reenact all the scenes with Jerry from the Titanic at gunpoint. She's pretty creepy throughout the whole thing.
Not attractive either. Not compared to Beth.
No. Rick is left in charge with Morty and Summer, but they ended up having a large party. Among the guests are teenagers, aliens, gearhead, Squanchy, alternate Ricks, and Abradolf Linkler, a DNA combination of Adolf Hitler and Abraham Lincoln. Not only do they make a mess, but the whole house is accidentally sent into another dimension where Linkler seemingly dies. He actually survives. Spoiler, ultimately the guests are sent away. The house is returned to its place. Rick and Morty and Summer only have minutes to spare before Beth and Jerry arrive, so they use a contraption to freeze time, allowing them to repair the house. And then, as an aside, they all end up watching the Titanic and unanimously agree how terrible it is. Was this the cause of the crack in the driveway when the house was returned? Because there's an ongoing consistency in the continuity where there is a significant crack in their driveway that happened from one of these adventures. I think it was the house coming back.
Was it there or was it the end of season 2?
I could be jumping the gun on when it happens. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Was this the one where they had? Well, wasn't this the one where they had the false imaginary, like not real but real if you thought about it, beings?
I don't remember.
I know they made. I know in this episode they made up the pretty Rick-tastic dance at the end.
Yeah, where was it a new catchphrase? He says, I got a new catchphrase or something like that at the end.
Yeah.
He always has new catchphrases.
Yeah, this is and was it, what episode was it or was it the end of the pilot? I think it was the end of the pilot where, yeah, it was the end of the pilot after it was a scene I meant to mention, which is called back in season 4 pilot, which I love. From episode 1, one of my favorite moments in the early season was when Rick tells Morty he's not actually smart, it's just a side effect of the seeds that he put up his butthole, and that for 72 hours he'll basically be a vegetable with minimal motor functions and complete lack of intelligence. And so while Morty's flailing on the floor, completely incapable of doing anything, Rick talks about how excited he is that we're going to continue going on more adventures. Adventures Forever, rickandmorty.com, and they go on this big rant at the end about how it's going to be Rick and Morty forever, Rick and Morty times 100 more episodes. And when we get into season 4 later this year, there's a nice call back at the end of episode 1 of season 4.
No, you were right on this one. The crack does show up in this episode, and the TV is out on the front lawn, and Rick has his new catchphrase, and it is my favorite song at the end of any of the seasons, and it's the where Rick, Morty, and Summer are out in the front, and it's the shake that ass, bitch, let me see what you got. Now shake that ass, bitch, let me see what you got.
Yeah, and they just kind of do a breakout and dance.
Yeah, it's that episode where they were trying to clean up and make the house look good for when Beth and Jerry got back, but it didn't end up that way. And
on a last side note, the end credit scene for this one shows the giant alien beasts repeatedly inserting and removing Linkler and a random teenager from the party in and out of their holes, we'll say. And he's like, are you enjoying this? And the teenager's like, yeah, it's great. And these aliens just keep plugging them into their body holes and pulling them out repeatedly, like an endless, awkward thing of torture or something. It was a very awkward way to end the season.
For sure.
Well, guys, I want to throw this out there. Do we have any final thoughts on season 1 overall? Or any specific other moments that we may have not mentioned that have come to mind at the end here?
Favorite character of season 1? I'd have to say Snowball.
Snowball's good. I enjoyed the devil for the brief period of time he spent trying to ruin people's lives. And then Rick kind of shoved in his face that you just proved that God doesn't exist or something like that when he was using his science to uncurse his cursed items. I'm trying to think of another specific character because I mix it up between season 1 and 2 because seasons 2 and 3 have a lot of characters that come back, but there's also some unique ones, and that's why we need to get into the other 2 seasons very soon.
Yep.
If nothing else hits your mind, Lynn or Nick, I'm gonna put this little thought out there to our listeners. This is supposed to be a full series deep dive, but as we've learned in the past, when we do a deep dive, on anything. Even one season can occupy a nice 2-hour episode, which we've hit now. We're right around the 2-hour mark for this, where we gave the whole premise, history of the show, and broke down 11 episodes of Rick and Morty. I think the show deserves the continued attention of future breaking down. And since we still have a little time before the end of season 4, I think we will come back with a part 2. And depending on how fast or slow we get through it, we'll do seasons 2 and 3 together, or we'll do a breakdown of season 2 and a breakdown of season 3. Might be a 3-parter depending on how we get into it. Anyway, gonna sign off for now, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments down below with your favorite character from season 1 and your favorite moment or moments from season 1. For now, nerds, just gonna keep it short and sweet. This has been your Nerdy Essentials and your Nerdy Deep Dive for the month. For me, Nick, and Lynn, we will see all of you on the other side.
In the next episode.
It was a little unexpected. Not unexpected. I kind of realized in the first 2 episodes.
I couldn't tell you that this shit was gonna go for f***ing ever. Come on, guy.